Um, Hello. Is it okay to? Fine. Thank you. Well, delighted to be here, and I really wanted to thank everybody for inviting me to speak a little about my job. Of course, very happy to do so, although some of you may in fact find my job to be a little bit boring. Anyway, I'll have to try and be brief. Well, perhaps to kick things off, I'll tell you that I work for an organization called the Bell Bank Foundation, and we deal with the problem of deforestation, and we have ongoing action programs in quite a few countries, including mainly, in fact, in Africa. And whenever I think about Africa, it always reminds me of the joke about the missionary, two missionaries, and who was standing by the side of the road, and they see the two cannibals standing by the side of the road, and they see a missionary go past on his bicycle, and one cannibal says to the other, "Oh, look, there goes Meals on Wheels." Well, perhaps I should just put that to explain that, because in England, you see, we have this service called, well, I suppose it's really, and given the short time, perhaps I should get on about my job. So, in fact, what I perhaps need to do initially is to put the whole problem of deforestation into its actual perspective. And I thought I would perhaps start off with a slide. This slide, I think you will find, gives, well, we seem to be having a technical problem. So, but I don't worry. Us technicians in Africa, we often have to deal. And I should have these figures somewhere in the papers. This slide should really bring home to you, by contrast with the by contrast with the GNP, which is on this. According to Kenya, which is here, if you read on a scale down from GNP, you'll find that the GNP for Kenya is in the region of 234. That, I think, is per capita per... Yes, that is definitely per capita in US dollars. And in fact, there is, to give this, put this to comparative figures with, in fact, with the annual deforestation figures, and this one doesn't seem to be in color. I must apologize. We've had, my secretary really didn't have the facilities to do this. But if you look into you have the GNP figure here, and you notice in passing that the rainfall figure is 784. And that contrasts quite tellingly, in fact, with a country which is often in the news, Ethiopia, which has the GNP of 234. And we've all seen the very moving figures of deforestation and its consequences on especially rural populations in Africa. Perhaps, given the sort of television coverage this kind of problem receives, I should give you some more information on the actual impact. And I have some figures here which I think many of you are going to find quite staggering, even though if you know nothing about the problems of Africa. And these figures come from the International Council for Research in Agroforestry. Now, this is a Nairobi-based organization, and it's more commonly known as ICRAF, for those who are based with the for those who are familiar with the Nairobi-based International Council for Research in Agroforestry. Now, these people really have shown, and they suggest, that if Kenya was to grow the amount of fuel wood rather than the amount of fuel wood it burns, it would make annual savings in the region of a totally staggering 40,000 hectares of fuel wood. And that represents an economic impact. And I think, you know, us businessmen, we really have to always keep in mind the economic impact of the savings in the region of 25 million US dollars. Now, of course, with such savings, this sort of savings can be used really to improve the conditions of the rural women, which really suffer most from the sort of problems we are addressing today and in our work every day for... Sorry? Well, I did promise to be brief and perhaps haven't covered as much as I would like, but I hope I've brought home to you the depth and strength of, and the importance of this problem, and perhaps given you an indication of how you can all help in your daily lives. Perhaps just to conclude, if I could just show perhaps the mission statement of the Bell Bank Foundation, and you can see we started our activity with stoves in well, it was around 1984, I believe, and I'm afraid I didn't get much time to talk about the stoves, but anybody has any questions, I'd be very happy to stay as long as you like and answer any inquiries or questions for further information any of you might need. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you. Thank you.